good sound and video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you good.
It's the time.
Yeah,
Yep. Whose channel is that though? Make sure all the channels.
Chicago on there too.
On there too?
Yeah.
Hey, Shalom, Shalom. We are the brothers of the Great Millstone, the branch here in Chicago. And first and foremost, we want to give all praises, glory, and honor to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekakwadash.
Double honors into our apostles, double honors into our elder bishops. Salutations to all our fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity around the four corners of the earth. All right, risking their lives and their freedom to do so. Also, salutations to the scattered elect that are scattered among the heathens that look like the heathens, and to the Akwaf that are listening and learning to the few. We give a hearty shalom, and we're going to play this video. First, can somebody get Ezekiel 35?
How was it just one? I was just pulling up a petrol.
I had,
Oh, just about to pull it up. Kind of spirit.
Ezekiel 35.
I had 25.
Okay, what you want? What you want?
Started at 1, but the point is verse 5.
Yeah,
I
the
got
point
it.
is in verse 5.
Start at 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Ezekiel 35, 1. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus says Lord Power, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee.
Yeah, and the Lord is completely and totally against Mount Seir.
You ain't
All
talking
right.
about no mountain either.
Yeah, and it's talking about, you know, the rulership of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. All right.
Okay. Against it, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate.
Yeah, it's just like it says in Second Ezra, the 11th chapter, I think around the 40th verse, 39th verse. He gonna make them destroy themselves by themselves, because he's gonna use other mice to do it. You know,
Right.
we were just in the car, me and Asha, you know, talking about how Putin got that big, what's his name, Crusher? Bone Crusher spirit on him. You know,
Right.
he ain't never scared. You know? Right? He going through his trunk when they bitch asses. All right.
I saw a speech from Putin the other day that they have been playing on the news.
Yeah, I saw.
I had to find it, and he just flat out said, "No, this is it."
He said he's tired.
Yeah,
and that he's tired of this place, and basically he want, you know, he's fighting that. In his mind, he's fighting a just war. He's rid the world of tyranny, not understanding that he's an Edomite, and them tendencies will come out once he get complete and total power too. That's why the Lord is not going to give it to him. You know, he's going to use the Edomites that are in the land of Gog and Magog, because Gog and Magog's not there. All right, he's going to use those Edomites in the land of Gog and Magog, along with Ammon and all the other nations that are going to be joined unto them, and to destroy this great mountain here, which is, you know, Babylon the Great.
That's right.
All right, he's going to annihilate these Edomites over here, and the ones that happen to be in the land of Israel. They're really fucked.
Right.
They're surrounded by nothing
Enemies.
but nations that completely going to swallow them up.
Right.
All right, they're going to get hit from every direction. So they're going to really regret that the day's going to come where they're going to regret claiming to be us, and they're going to regret going to that land.
Oh
The
yeah.
prophet declaration.
But continue, brother.
Okay. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead. You can break it. Go ahead, brother? You want to?
No, well, like I said, you know, this Edomite has had this perpetual hatred going back to the womb. Okay, so he's being true to his nature. Our people are the ones that's trying to be or want to be joined hand in hand with him and whatnot. He's being true to his nature.
He's being true to his nature. And what do we name it? That old hatred is coming back.
That's right.
Another thing that the reason why, and I say this often, is that a lot of people don't understand that the whole slave trade, you know, starting from 1492 when they started attacking the Northern Kingdom, and then, you know, almost 100 years later they started, you know, going after the the Southern Kingdom, you have to understand that these are ancient hatreds and ancient that go back to way before, back to Rome and even before that. But this latest thing that we're going through, especially with Judah, it is with meaning the Southern Kingdom, this is payback for the fall of Rome. That's exactly what this is. Because the Edomites know very well that they were the wildlings, they were in the Dark Age. It's funny how these people will tell you about things that happened 30 million years ago when the world's not that old. They'll tell you about things that happened 10,000 years ago. All right. And they'll tell you all this prehistoric stuff, but everything's diluted when it gets to the Dark Age.
Oh, we don't.
From the third century, literally up to the, and then they completely whitewashed it. Because what you have to understand is that, not to get off subject matter, but it was the so-called Negroes, West Indies and the people you call the Haitians that made up primarily the Southern Kingdom. They were they took over all of Europe and Rome when it fell, and they ruled over it for 1,000 years.
Yeah, that's when they called it Eastern Rome. It split up. Eastern Rome took over, which was niggas taking over. Then they called it the Holy Roman Empire.
Exactly.
And then they called it the Byzantine Empire.
And Esau tries to reinforce his lies with Hollywood, especially when it comes to this whole Danes versus the Brit shit. I keep mentioning how I've been rewatching The Last Kingdom.
Yeah, that's why they got such a tight leash on niggas this time around. They don't let you get up into true power no more.
No.
See, in Rome, they fucked up, and they know they fucked up. Niggas are charismatic. Niggas, people follow after them. People that got the code of personality.
Got that swag on.
People love niggas. Even in the lower state, people love niggas. Much they hate us. Niggas just so fucking raw, you can't help it.
They raw, even in wickedness. A nigga will come out with a wicked ass, goofy ass dance, and then have the whole world doing it.
Right. See, ancient Rome.
And that wasn't even their intention. They just did the shit, put it up on the internet. Next thing you know, everybody doing it.
The proof is Fortnite with that. Fortnite take all these niggas dances and they can't get sued for it because you can't copyright it. But a nigga like Colin Powell, ancient Rome, and he would have been emperor by the time he reached the height of his career.
Oh yeah.
In America, they capped him, but we'll give you some the appearance of power. Right. We'll make you this general.
They put a cap on that shit.
Yeah. They ain't gonna fuck up again.
So here's a line that you cannot cross.
I got a precept to back up your point. This is Ezekiel 25:12. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because the Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended and revenged himself upon them.
Come on, that's right.
So Edom been pissed off for Rome, and even
the beginning.
Well, but this says Judah from Rome, and then when the blessing that was given Esau, you should break the yoke off his neck to get into power. Who was ruling over Edom when it happened? Judah. And it happened again in history because the scriptures, repeat themselves. All right, it happened again during the Dark Ages, man. Judah's ruling over Edom again. Edom was pissed about it.
There's an ancient tapestry that goes back to the 15th century. And it's a tapestry of if somebody could find it real quick and send it to the elder, if you can find it. But there's a tapestry of some Jakes in Germany defending a castle, and you can see all the Jakes they were Moors, and they all had on their headbands, with their bows and their arrows on their horses, and they were fighting off so-called white people that would come out of the woods, the wildlings, and the Elder Taj went in on that. The Elder Bishop Taj went in on that history. And I just found it fascinating because it just solidified and backed up what I already believed and knew, but he just went deep into details, man. So, the Edomite during the Dark Ages, like I said, they glorify them in movie and film. They want to make them Ragnar and Uhtred, and they want to make Robert the Black, Robert the Bruce, and that wasn't them. They were the serfs and the servants. Their women were bedwenches. Their women were being traded by the Moors. So this perpetual hatred, which he's about to read, this goes way beyond what people even know.
Yeah.
Yep.
You finna grab that verse already, right?
I have it right here. Genesis 27:40. And by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and shall come to pass when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck.
Right. And who had that yoke on his ass? It happened in the ancient world with Judah. Esau got free, and that was his. He began his reign to raise the power. Same thing happened during the Dark Ages, or you could call it Eastern Rome ages or the Byzantine Empire ages. All right, this is when Judah took over again. Edom got put back in servitude, as the prophecy say he was going to locked up in prison for 1,000 years.
Right.
And he got out. He was pissed, man. He was on a tear after that. He got the papacy, and from there he will let loose on our ass, man.
That's right.
They actually got pictures of the Dark Ages of Esau actually kneeling before Judah.
Absolutely.
I have some of those in my I'm trying to find those now.
And I have some in the book too. Where
Matter of fact, here's one. Let me send it to you.
You see niggas and they white one that milky skin.
I'm gonna send it straight to
Right
you.
next-
It's on this
That's
phone.
right.
I have
I
it
just-
on this phone.
We just talked about this on Ohio yesterday.
You see the contrast.
You
Darkest
cannot make
niggas and milkiest them skins.
and while he's getting that, and this is the verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And these words of Esau, her eldest son, were told to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's that old hatred. And if you go back, you can go back to Cain and Abel. The Lord made us, if you want to say proverbially, the yin and the yang. You know, we're the opposites. We embody righteousness. They embody pure wickedness. I mean, to do the things that Esau does, not only to the birds, the bees, the trees, the animals, but to do it to humans. All right, and then the elect of the Lord, but then to his own self. Scripture says, he that is evil to himself, to whom could he do good? He is actually destroying the earth and everything in it. All right, he is the harbinger of fucking death.
It's perpetual hatred when you use somebody's skin as a fucking leather bag, man.
That's
That was,
right.
when I know the brother had just mentioned that, I
Or
remember
that women's breast is the tobacco pouch
Right.
or
the
wallet.
man's ball sack was known as a coin purse.
Hey, they
Yes,
also
bro,
use-
that's what-
yeah.
That's what it's called. That's why you even see a coin purse, it still has that
yeah.
small little
They
shape.
got the
Like,
wrinkle,
yes, and what I'm thinking is because the brother had mentioned the skin, but I was looking at these expensive ass leather bags, and when I was looking at them, I can't help but think like, damn, are they still? This is still that.
In the
you know,
back
I'm
of their
thinking
mind.
this is what I see. You know, as a Jake should remember that shit, man. It's been perpetual. They used you as your ball sack as a coin purse, man.
Yeah, and your woman's breast as a tobacco pouch.
That's some hatred.
That is some hatred. All right. Did you go ahead and finish that, bro?
Okay.
I'm gonna try to post this on screen too.
Okay.
Did you see another one there?
Yeah, I sent it to you. All right.
Sent it to
That
Okay. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee.
All right, so it's gonna be a lot of Edomite blood is gonna be spilled, and quite frankly, that's the only way to pay the debt.
That's it.
Right.
You know, scriptures clearly say that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if we can hold them scriptures you got. If you could play just a few minutes of the video, so they know what we're talking about this this young Jake that got attacked by 3 truckloads of Edomites, and and there was a camera shot of him with his shirt torn off of him, and he had a big stick he was carrying. So clearly he was fighting for his life, and then they found him. He was beheaded, and his bones. It literally looked like they took a chainsaw to him and cut his bones in pieces. The way you'll see, and it's pretty disgusting. That who would do this to a human being? I mean, it's one thing to kill somebody, but that's a whole extra form of hatred to actually hack somebody's body in pieces, man.
It's a lot. He just wanted many that we don't know about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that spirit, with as much violence has been done. Because one thing you don't see, they'll try to fabricate it and fake it and lie about it. But what you don't see a so-called Negro or Hispanic get in their car and drive to a white church or a white school and attack people. You know, but you do see Edomites do that to other people of color, so-called people, you know, what they call people of color.
I met a sheriff.
They do it to so-called Negroes. They do it to so-called Hispanics. They'll do it to Muslims. They'll do it to Indians, you know, the East Indians I'm talking about. There's so many accounts where you have these mass shootings and mass killings, murders, where you have these white men, you know, that just have their spirit to do that sort of thing.
Hey, they perpetuate a fucking false story and do it on a grand scale, going into other countries.
I knew a sheriff. I asked him, I'm like, hey man, you're real cool. Why'd you become a cop? He said, when I was growing up, he said basically the white boys would come, and since his father had an Impala, they would basically like break him or try to discourage him to try to get him to sell it so he'd get rid of it. I was like, for real? He said, yeah. He said, the only reason I became a cop is because I always wanted to protect my family. He said, my dad would get accosted because he had an Impala, and when he would drive it around, he said whenever he'd go too far, they'd either try to like corner him so he'd stop and like give it up or try robbing him. He said that's the only reason I became a cop. He said now he get to bully these white boys. So what he would do is whenever he'd be like swap duty, he would make them do a landscaping and shit. He'd be like, oh hey, work in the sun, pick up condoms. You know what I'm saying? He would make them, and you could tell that he wouldn't joke with them for shit. He wouldn't even be cool with them. He would be like nah man. And it's because he seen that his father went through that. He said that they would fuck with him hard. He said, my father did it. You know, my father was an old man when they did it to him. He said, so he would always, want to be in his youth, wanted to, bulk up and shit. I'm like, damn, man, this man's life. He didn't get to choose a profession he wanted. He didn't get to quote unquote live his
like,
dream.
I'm gonna become a cop just so I can protect
I'm gonna be a security guard, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm a
so
guard.
Can't nobody pull the shit on my family.
On my family again.
Wow, that's well. Go ahead and let it play, brother. Shot.
So.
No, it was on, but after a while it goes on.
And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. A murder in Mississippi is now on the radar of federal investigators. This comes as an autopsy of the victim, Rasheem Carter, revealed he was beheaded. Beheaded. The 25-year-old was last seen alive in October. Now, parts of his body were found in the woods a month later, and another haunting detail. His family says Carter went to the local police department and reported being scared for his life. He believed a group of white men were following him. My next guest has been intimately involved in this case. Joining me now, Ben Crump law investigator, Arthur Silky Slim Reed. It's just mind-blowing to see this whole case happening, Arthur. And it's my understanding he last talked to his mother on the phone October 1st, and he warned her. He was saying that there were some issues with his employer, right?
Yes, with his employer, and then he said that 3 trucks of white men had started following him, and then he texted his mom saying that if anything happened to me, so-and-so had something to do with it. He had these men trying to kill me. And then he was also caught on the deer camera in the woods with a large stick on his shoulder, and his shirt was ripped off of him, and he had bruises on him. So someone was after him, and someone was chasing him.
Like a hunt.
Yes.
They're hunting
They're
him.
hunting him, that's right. And he was seen on that deer camera, and that photo that was on that deer camera, even though they knew he was missing, was circulated through the town at a truck stop during breakfast time, and people were talking about it. And finally, we found out that he was hunted by someone, and you don't just make accusations about someone's trying to kill you and then come up dead. What's crazy about it is that the sheriff on the first day ruled out foul play. We don't see any foul play. When his head was detached from his spinal cord.
How does that happen?
I don't know, man. It's Mississippi Burning 2023. And we're on top of this 24/7. We haven't rested on this case. And think about this, that We've had this case since December, right after the remains were found in November, and couldn't get a news story broke on it. Only a couple of people would show up, only a couple of cameras would show up. So we couldn't get the story broke until now, once we had the images of the remains. And what the state was actually telling us is we're conducting an autopsy. So we're going to turn the body over to y'all as soon as we get through. So when they call and say that they were turning over the body, when I went to Mississippi and it was the size of a shoebox, I was like, what kind of sick joke is this?
Wow. And you were looking at exclusive pictures you provided for us here. What are we looking at, Arthur, right now exactly?
That's the vertebrae, parts of the vertebrae. The other picture that you see, that's the skull that was inside of that box that I'm telling you about, and that is his skull. And we've never seen this type of decomposition on anybody. So we're trying to figure all of this out as we go along. Was any kind of substance used? What has him in the shed they said, because it would actually take, we did up mummies and there's still skin and we don't have any.
That's a question I have for my producer. I'm like, how can you have a skull in that amount of time? And of course, this has been examined by the pathologist, the medical examiner, and they've positively identified it as
okay. You can pause it right there, brother. But you kind of get the myth. Yeah, you see, because his entire front teeth are missing. They don't need to collect that many teeth for DNA.
They
Right.
said they took a couple.
Yeah, and they probably knocked his teeth
Knocked
out. They
top out.
probably beat this man damn near to death and then hung him, beheaded him. And I'm assuming they probably put lime or some sort of chemical, something on his body to make it,
Trying to break his body,
because
trying to
there
break it
still
down.
would be something over
Right.
there still would be skin and residue of
Yeah, it
flesh.
ain't been long enough.
It ain't been long enough for it
Right.
to be like this. This is like a skull that you would dig up from, a couple hundred years ago or 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago. You're not gonna. This is for a man who died recently, and then this all be left of him.
Mm-hmm.
So this is America, and that spirit of is back on a lot of these Edomites, and they're ready to do that. I mean, you got these race soldiers that you call policemen. They get caught speaking like this all the time. How they can't wait for the race war and they didn't want to kill niggas and spics and all that kind of shit.
Oh yeah.
And then all these white superiority gangs that are all into the police department and all these police departments and also in the military.
See, the hatred, never really went nowhere. That's what the scriptures say. He make himself as an angel of light. He put on this squeaky clean image so he can have a clean image to the world. So he can do all his wickedness, and people think he's too nice to do all that, man. But it says his word is smoother than butter, but swords in his hands, man. All right, Esau was a violent man. This is Job 20 and 11. His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. Though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spare it and forsake it not. So it's a sick game, Esau, man. They'll smile in your face, but that wickedness is still there. They hide under their tongue, man.
No backstab, man.
Yep. They'll speak smooth shit to you. But hey, look, you catch them when they with their peers. They talking mad shit about Jake. And you catch them in their segment where they ain't got to worry about consequences like on the game. Well, they talk about this all the time. Nigga is the most. Look, they don't give a shit, man. Hard art. They show their hatred, man. Hey, but it says
little video game chats.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. His meat and his bowels is turned. It is the gall of ass within him. He hath swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. God shall cast them out of his belly. So you're gonna lose, man. All right, the Lord is gonna take everything you've got, and guess who's gonna give it to? Us, man. The ones you hate so fucking much.
Yep. Hey, just like he set them up, he's gonna put them down.
That's right.
And right here, and I got a couple. One in Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. It says, "This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and the earth is the kingdom of men." All right. So it says that to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and he giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men, right? The lowest of men,
This
the
piece of
wickedest, the most wicked, the most carnal, the most opposite from the righteousness of the Most High God. All right, and this is who's ruling right now. Now, in this
set himself up to be a judge.
His own self, ordained himself.
That's it. Yep. This is what they do because it is in the power of their hand to do it, right? So this is 2nd Esdras chapter 4, verse 28. It says, "But as concerning the things whereof thou askest me, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown." All right, the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come. If therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, then cannot it come that is sown with good. So things like this is going to continue to happen, and it's actually going to heighten, and just worse things are going to happen.
These days to come, this is going to be normal.
You see, and so these things again are going to heighten. They're just going to get worse until wickedness reaches the height that it was given, and then that's when the Lord comes. Once they reach their height, that's when the Lord comes to put the destruction on this place. You see, so you have to understand that this is never going to stop until our Lord and Savior comes. So your prayer would be, or should be, that the Lord hasten that day of his return. And that's it.
Yeah, that word perpetual means everlasting. Esau hated us in the womb. He's going to continue to hate us.
Continual.
That's right.
Yeah, you could match the word perpetual with the affinity sign.
That's right.
Which is a number 8. It just,
on the side.
That's right. And
I actually grew up with a girl named Perpetual.
And if you look at the scriptures, it says if the enemy was able to come to the kingdom, he will still seek to overthrow you. He is contrary to righteousness by nature.
Yes.
This is Ecclesiasticus 12:10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
Naturally.
Though naturally, right? All right. He said, and never trust him. And when I see this scripture, and I ask Jake, when we were on the slave ships, were we cool with Esau? Every single one of them say no. I said, when we got off them slave ships, were we cool with Esau? They say no. And then I would walk them all the way to now, and I say, are we cool with Esau? Well, but now, you stupid fuck. That's how they still got you.
Yep.
Right.
Though he humbled himself and go crouching. That like Clinton came, we're sorry.
Play the saxophone.
Right.
Oh, here, nigga.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're sorry for slavery.
He didn't play it that good.
Oh,
right.
You know? Yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou had wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand in thy place. Now what they call themselves, you wish you was us, all right? The curly cues, the small hats, whatever you want to call them, all right? They're over in our homeland, Israel, which is truly Yasharallah, claiming to be us, going in front of that wall, bobbing and weaving and telling the Lord and accusing of
the wall.
Right, humping the wall and accusing your brothers, man, all right? This is
for the record, that wall has nothing to do with the temple. There's absolutely nothing left of the temple.
That's right.
The Wailing Wall is what's left of Fort Antonia, which is named after Mark Antony.
That's right.
All right, that's what that is. That wall. There's no scripture anywhere in the Bible where you to write little notes and stick them in the cracks in the wall, and the Lord and the angels will answer them.
Well, then he said,
right? When you go hump a wall, all right? Because I had one of my clients, somebody how she was gonna go to the Wailing Wall and say a prayer for me, and I was just like, nah, you ain't gotta do that.
Didn't the scripture say when they would say, y'all should look at these temples? He said there's not going to be one stone.
He said there's not going to be one stone left. So, all right, so that's all a lie. You people are stupid. Especially you Edomite Christians here in America, when Judaism, they completely hate Christianity, and they make it very clear to you. They don't even believe in your white Jesus that you always talking about.
That's right.
Nope. They don't even believe in him, but yet you support them.
That's right. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last, remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with the serpent, or any such as come nigh the wild beast? So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will he pity? Right? And this is what Esau's done. He's done buddy Jake, give Jake well, the gift destroys the heart. He gives them, links and Section 8s and welfares, and really make people think that he actually give a fuck about you.
Well, they're gonna write to him. And in these days to come, when all this madness, when the chaos comes, you still gonna have some foolish chicks that's gonna run to Esau, and they're gonna end up just like this or worse.
That's right.
Hey, could you continue in that, because I want to get a word definition in there.
Okay, I'll keep reading down.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. For a while he will, verse 15. For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou fall, he will not tarry. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. Democracy, we care about all. We need, what do you say after the so-called slamdemic? We really need to go ahead and make sure this is available for the blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans.
You got a show called Democracy Now. All right?
Right.
And then every time you watch it, the show is showing you nothing but atrocities. And then a lot of those atrocities are happening to the Israelites daily.
That's right. But in his heart he imagineth, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. It made me think of, I saw a picture of Joe Biden and Abernathy, not Abernathy, the last one, the Sharkston, Al Sharpton. And they all hold hands like the old Martin Luther King stuff, where they're walking down, even then they had the token so-called white man, though they go and join hand in hand, that's a show. All right, that's a show. He said the enemy will speak sweetly with his lips, but in his heart, his mind, he imagines how to throw them into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he finds opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity,
bloodshed enough. Esau wanted to torture us. He built the whole system against us. He could have just kept us hardcore slavery. Was better off than this shit. Man.
It was.
At least we would have known.
Because they gave you a sense of freedom, and then they just used you even worse. Right? Because of violence. The problem is that once you became free, the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, the violence was worse. Because it was horrible when we were slaves, but your life had worth. The slave, it wasn't profitable to just kill you. All right, they mistreated you and worked you till you died, but it wasn't profitable to hang you and burn you and do all the, that sort of thing. Right. It was all about money. So they were trying to take care of their slaves to keep them alive, so that they could, continue earning. Yeah. But after you were free, they had no, that's when, and then the Joe Blow, the ones that are always saying, well, my family didn't, they were some of the worst. Yeah. Right? Because, they only freed or emancipated. They didn't free at all. That's why it's called the Emancipation Proclamation, which is the transfer of ownership from one to another. They transferred you from the private ownership of the slavers to the ownership of the government, and they were able to use you for cheap labor and incarcerate you with those certain amendments, or that the 13th Amendment, and then put you back in slavery for free. Right. All right. Okay, so and that 13th Amendment law is still on the book, man. Mm-hmm. So you got the Jim Crow era, all the redlining and all the other things that went, all the lynching, all the destruction of all the black towns all over, all these places that Judah built up all over America. And you got to understand, when Judah was in slavery, they built and made everything. Yep. So when you set these men free, they just did what they always did. They built houses, homes, and then next thing you know, they had thriving communities. And their communities were better than the so-called white men, because the white men sat back and just and drank tea and whip people.
Hey, during the Depression, Jake was loaning Esau money during the Depression.
That was happening right here in Chicago in the Black Belt. Mm-hmm. Right, the banking system right here in the Black Belt was Edomites were coming to the banks in what they call Bronzeville today. All right, they were going there for entertainment. They were going to the black clubs. Jake had movies and the juke joints and all that stuff. and they went throughout the country and all those places like that. They annihilated and destroyed them. And then they set these systems in place to keep our people oppressed, you know.
And then they gentrified all of our neighborhoods and brought Esau in.
And they say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
And they brought in these foreigners, and they would pay these foreigners entitlements to come over here
And going on there.
Matter of fact, who was playing that video with the little goop, bro? You can go ahead and play it now because she gives it. Yeah, that's perfect that you got it because it fits perfect because she gives a breakdown on a historical event that took place that oppressed Jake, uplifted the Chinese, but it wasn't even on it. But you know what? But the Moab wasn't even. They were just trying to make it. They didn't, I'm not uplifting Moab or nothing like that, but the system was set up to where, you know what? You can't have this. You know what? I'm gonna shut up and let her tell it.
Yes, this is really important. Asian Americans were redlined from opening businesses in white neighborhoods because white people didn't want Asian Americans operating in their neighborhoods and didn't want Asian Americans profiting off of white people. But because the positionality of Asian Americans is weaponized to oppress Black people, Asian Americans were being given loans to open businesses in Black communities, even though Black people were not able to receive loans to open businesses in their own communities. And as I said before, as a result of this, Black wealth is essentially paid out twice when it goes to Asian American businesses. Once when the individual pays for the goods or services, and then again when the Asian American business owner removes the profit from the community. Because usually people open businesses in their own communities, and this is mutually beneficial, where the business owner is making a livelihood off of providing goods and services to their community. And by being a member of the community, they're contributing and they're investing back into the community. This is an ideal situation, and that is not what happens with Asian American businesses operating in Black communities.
So that's explaining to you. That's really making it very, very clear that the so-called white man created a very unfair unfair playing field. The playing field is not level against so-called white people. I mean, against so-called Black people, in the favor of so-called white people. All right. And I always say how Esau is the only people I know that rigs a game and then brags about winning it.
It's funny. Jumped out the bushes and arm-barred everybody.
Yeah, my man, right.
It's funny.
It's like he want me to finish the verse real quick. If adversity come upon thee, like Sirach 12 and 17, thou shalt find him there first.
But he said something about blood, right?
Well, I'll go back
He
up.
will not be satisfied.
Okay, he said, he will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood.
And that is a right there. This 25-year-old Mississippi man dismembered. They wasn't satisfied.
He was already dead, of course.
Right. But they had to keep on going. There's that scripture right there in a sense. Right.
Oh, that's excellent.
But go ahead.
If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to
who did this thing, right?
And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee.
That was the verse. Yet he will pretend to help thee, yet will he undermine thee. So here it is when we get on Esau Edom, because the scriptures in Psalms 82 tells us to rid our people from the hand of the wicked, from their grasp. You see? And so when we do that, they're like, because here it is, they done undermined you and hoodwinked you and bamboozled you, and now you think that, he's not so bad.
Right.
But this definition of undermine, it says to endure or destroy by insidious activity or imperceptible stages.
Oh, imperceptible, so you don't see it.
Don't even know it that this is what they're doing.
Yeah, that's like a nigga stealing from you and trying to help you
find
your shit.
That's it.
That's exactly what the fuck it is.
Yep. So it says to endure or destroy. So this is their purpose, to endure, which goes into destroying, or destroy by insidious. That goes in like being like stealth. You know what I mean? Activity or inceptible stages, sometimes tending toward a sudden dramatic effect. And that's what's about to happen. They're going to have that chaos. What is it called? Order out of chaos, all right? Order out of chaos, and it's going to be some event that really get this thing right. That they
Well, and I think it's in the workshop because the banks around the world, not just in America, but the banks around the world are continuing. Small banks are continuing to collapse because the bank runs are happening,
Right.
and all that money is going toward the three biggest banks, and they're gonna have and those three biggest banks are in cahoots with the Federal Reserve, and and with the IMF, so they're gonna. It's all going to lead up to the sea.
So here it is. Our people thinking like, this is a few banks that happen there. They'll bounce back. The things with the derailments. Just happened to be a coincidence.
36 derailments. All major waterways in the entire Midwest have been polluted. All right, all of them.
Yep.
And they're all interconnected.
Yep.
Right. And so the entire Midwest, which is the most fertile soil in America for growing food. Also, since you mentioned it, also you got the issue in California with the fruits and vegetables, the nuts and the vegetables. I think 65% of the fruits and vegetables come out of California and the nuts. So prices are about to skyrocket.
This is the exact one of the definitions of undermine, because it says to attack by indirect, secret, or underhand means.
I got a scripture. Matter of fact, they all in Psalms 140. Psalms 141, 140 it says, deliver me, O Yahweh, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man. So, Yahweh Ratazah, we all preserved from this type of violence from Esau, right? And then Psalms 140 and 4, it says, keep me, O Yahweh, from the hands of the wicked, preserve me from the violent man, who have purpose to overthrow my goings. And that's a daily thing with Jacob.
Yes.
All right. That's why the race soldiers drive around the hood enforcing drug laws on Jacob when the majority of the drug use is in the white neighborhoods.
Right.
All right. So like you'll see them patrolling all through Washington Heights, but you won't see police cars pulling over the youth right next door here in Beverly. You won't see them taking the youth in Beverly and the youth in Mount Greenwood, in Evergreen Park and Oakland. You don't see them. You don't see a bunch of white kids bent over the hood of cars, getting their pockets ran and their backpacks dug through. All right, they don't enforce it. And there was a couple videos on the YouTube where the white cop admitted it. Well, we're told not to enforce drug laws in white neighborhoods. We only do it in the poor neighborhoods. Well, they also dropped the drugs. Let me read this last one, Pops. And this is 140 and 11. It says, "Let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him."
Right. Yep. And so this is their whole purpose is to overthrow the Israelites, man. The special chosen children, which is the opposite of them. All right. The special chosen children is made to be the righteous. All right. And the wicked is just that, the wicked. But it says how that the wicked seek to plot it against the just. Right. You see, and the whole thing is to undermine us. And another definition of that undermine is it says to weaken or cause to collapse by removing underlying support. All right. And so ultimately our support is this word, Yahweh Shai, in truth. You see? And this is what they do. They get rid of that and they just continue to lie to you, deceive you, and destroy you by insidious activity and imperceptible stages.
And you can actually see the undermining as well as what happened in Gary, Indiana, what happened in certain parts. What did they do? They took the jobs away from Jake. They took the steel mills.
They took it right here from
the
east side of Chicago. They took the steel mills away too.
They took everything away from Jake. And then what did they do? They implemented, then they set up the projects. Mm-hmm. They made the projects seem like this was going to be somewhere to some great thing with low income housing, But
No, it
then
wasn't-
when they started,
no, it didn't start off. No,
like
look,
When
no.
Cabrini
Let
Green
me know
first
if I-
opened up, it was white people living in them too.
Hey,
oh, that shit crazy.
I seen the images. So they had but it was to trap Jake.
to get
When
them
they
in there
first
first.
opened up, everybody was living in it.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
it wasn't just Jake in there.
Gun.
And then as they started
They
building,
made decrees.
all the white flight and stuff, and they started making it and giving housing to make it land for
Gun.
cheap to Edomites to move out and away from the city. Then the implement of what the projects was really
Yeah,
kicked
okay.
in.
Exactly, absolutely.
Why they was taking the trades out of the school?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you used to have wood shop, and you used to have
Automotive.
you had automotive, you had all this stuff. We had home economics. So girls, women were prepared to be right.
You know how to sew.
I got tested. It was like in it was the fall of '91. We was in like electrician class.
Damn.
And they came and got. They said, "Hey, there's no more electrician class," and they told us go to the gym. And that's we never returned.
Give them
back.
basketball.
Right. Give him a basketball.
Get that soldering iron out of his hand. Put a ball in his hand.
That was at the end of it.
That's it.
Ben started doing
Yeah, they had been started, so you caught the end of it because
Right.
most of them things disappeared in the 80s.
And
Absolutely.
CBS was known as called Chicago Vocational.
Yeah, matter of fact,
had every single one of them.
people used to. I know when I was in school, people used to take their cars to CVS. For the
Absolutely.
students, and the students
Absolutely.
would fix your shit.
Absolutely.
So that the instructor would, okay, well, this is how it show them. And so by the time they graduated high school,
They had a
were
skill.
mechanics. They had a skill.
But,
Right.
but now, if you want how they did it, now if you want to go into, you have to get into a union. You have to go to get accepted in the union and got to go to their shit. You got to pay to go to them.
No,
And-
they took all that away so they could downgrade
Yeah.
the man and then hit you with Title 4D.
No, absolutely.
Shit.
Because
You know,
even the schools, because I do the car shit. Even the schools, they be on bullshit who they allow in the schools.
Hey, that's
So I tried to get into school, and they didn't like where I got my diploma from. They ain't like where I got my diploma from, which was I tried to go to UTI. They denied my diploma. I had a whole diploma. They said, "Well, bring this." I had the school send them that. They said, "Well, no, we'll bring this." Then the school sent them that. Then they was like, "You know what? We just don't want you. You got to go ahead and get it." So they wanted me to play their game with them and go to their school. But like, no, I got my diploma. Why I got to go to
And
your school?
that's a trap by Esau because he'll do that. He'll say, "Oh, this is a
And
credit."
then,
Make you take tests.
but check this out.
You're in debt.
The school is 40,000,
Yes.
40 bands.
Yes.
You
And,
get out of school.
and you're in debt.
You get out of school to make $17 an hour. Entry level technician only makes $16, $17 an hour, which ain't no fucking money. You got to be in the industry for fucking 15, 20 years to become a master technician to even make that fucking money, to make 100,000, 150,000. But who gonna make it to that level? And the only people that make it to that level is the ones who do the side jobs, got the side money. But Esau done set it up now to where with this Fed now that's coming, ain't gonna be no motherfucking side jobs.
Ain't no side.
Ain't gonna be no side
hustles,
money,
right?
ain't no hustles.
Mhm.
Everything gonna have to go through Esau.
Yeah,
You know?
and they keep distracting you with the bread and circus because something just popped up in my phone where the UFC and the WWE is merging.
What the?
That shit gonna be crazy. Right? The UFC and the WWE is
That shit
merging.
gonna be lit.
So that means they really need to distract people.
Right.
Because those are two very big watched things.
Yeah, but if you think about it, it's actually they're not the same in this sense. WWE is it's wrestling, but it's kind of staged and the process is scripted. But UFC is more of a combative sport.
Regardless,
It's all the same shit.
nevertheless, hey, I did one of them fake matches before. And then I was like, fuck, this is bullshit. I went back to MMA.
Okay, well that's what I mean. Okay,
So, but the truth is, you made more money in the fake shit.
right, you got your little dude
You know, I could have did some steroids and shit, and
blew up.
just got extra big, and it just did the TV wrestling shit, man. But but anyway, it's all a distraction, man.
Right, absolutely. That part.
If I could just talk on the point that Arada made, and my sister used to work at the place at the UTI, and I remember
They
The
took
fucked
me
up part
down.
is you didn't pay. I mean, the good thing is you didn't pay for it, but she ended up having to quit that job because they got all the people that did all the bells and whistles and paid for everything out. They had so much trouble getting job placement because
They
the
lied to
companies,
them.
the companies that would hire, they didn't want none of those recruits because they're like, oh, let me guess, like you said, transfer diploma. They're like, no, we want, you know what I'm saying? We want the cream of the crop that went to the school because my sister was having trouble with that. She's like, I quit because they would tell the felons, everybody that would sign up and pay the 40 grand that they would guarantee them job placement and they couldn't because the real companies didn't want them.
Porsche, Toyota, but to get into Porsche, you had to have all the.
Wow.
You had to graduate at the top of your
And
class.
they was lying.
And they was lying because look, I knew the shit they was talking about. I went in there to hone my skills, to learn how to do shit I didn't know how to do.
Right, on paper.
On paper. That's what I went there for. But when I went in there knowing shit, they're like, no, this motherfucker can't be there. He can't be here. But you know how I seen it? I seen a lot of Edomite women, Edomite men. It was a bunch of Edomites that they going in that line. There wasn't no Jake in that motherfucker. Because they don't want Jake in them type of place.
And that's what I was saying earlier. I don't care if you're talking about
the woman just told you that they weaponized the Chinese against the so-called blacks.
Hey, that's
right. They weaponized them. They didn't want them. It was like, well, we can profit off you by giving you business licenses. But you can't do that shit now, nigga.
Using the banks.
We gonna put you and you gonna make money off them niggas, and then we gonna deny them niggas everything.
Absolutely.
That's what Howard Shine said about Lazarus. You know, he said the dogs licked the sores. The dogs talking about the heathens, man.
He said, I'll pass it. I'm just yours. I'm sorry. That electrical joint off the 294, because I was trying to go out there. And but it's the same thing because I heard the same stories from there. I don't care if it's the carpenters union, the welders union, it doesn't matter. 90% of them is Esau, and they only let with the affirmative action type shit, only that token to say they're being fair in.
Token, yeah.
And that's it. And if you if you plug with somebody who get you in, you'll be that 1 or 2 or 5% token.
Okay.
That's it.
And look, there was a fireman's test that went out citywide. I think it was probably about 98, 99. You remember that, Pops?
Sure do. Absolutely.
I took that test because I was bouncing. I just been back to Chicago in a couple of years. And this guy that used to bounce with me, we both took it. This Italian dude. He really a nigga though. But he got on and I didn't. And I scored higher than him.
Wow.
All right. And he got on.
That's what my mom told me.
All right. And I scored higher than him.
Yeah.
All right.
My mom told me when I was in high school, she said, you cannot be as good as a white man.
You have to be
better. He said, if you go in there and you got an A,
and if you are better, they might shut you anyway.
And she said that.
You said, you can have an A plus. Damned if you don't.
And he said, even if you have an A plus, you still might not get it. You know what I'm saying? And is that living?
What happens is, exactly. When you fall into, and they'll call it affirmative action, which is bullshit. But when you fall into that token, that's when you win. That's because it's like, well, you know what, we need, we need to just so we can make our quotas and get our different benefits from the federal government. We need to we need a couple Hispanics and a couple Negroes in here, and then they'll bring a couple in here and there. But they literally are the tokens. All right. And then there ain't no room for no more.
Absolutely.
And then they end up selling out and then looking down on their brother and sister like, well, yeah, I get it. You can do it too. No, you can't, motherfucker.
No, and then another thing too, you got to always remember they will always hire the Latina woman,
that's right.
The black woman over the Latina man, the black man. In most cases,
they make her turn on.
Right, they will hire the woman first, right, and that is not done by accident. That is done by design. And then what's sickening is that the women that don't want to acknowledge that or act as if they can't see that.
Oh, they blind.
And they had an episode in Good Times. They had an episode in Good Times where he said, well, they hired my woman first, and he got mad. He said, I'll work 2 jobs before I let my wife be a maid, because even back then, I mean, the good time. I was just a kid when that came out.
I'm listening.
I was a kid.
I'm listening.
I
I'm
know.
getting all
Right,
that.
you know, but he was going into how they was hiring women and putting women in these certain positions over the men
The original
to
father.
break up the family with the men. And another thing, even Ishmael, but that's what going to Psalms 83. These heathens are in with Esau.
Yeah.
Hey, look, me and the brother Capo, we was at the liquor store, and I was talking to a Jake. I was telling him basically, that, hey, look, you drive trucks for a living. Why you ain't got no money? He was like, oh, I was cussing his ass out, really, just through the spirit. But the heathen, the motherfucking heathen told him, don't do it. He literally was like, no, don't do XYZ, be a dumb nigga, drink all day, come to this liquor store and spend all your fucking money. In so many words, that's what he told him. And I said, man, fuck this nigga around this corner. I told him, fuck this motherfucker. I say, this motherfucker saying he ain't got no money, he work for somebody, but this is fucking family. He going home to his big ass house in the neighborhood, and what that fucking piece of shit ass heathen started doing, he started smiling, and he shut the fuck up because he knew I called him on this bullshit. It's not only, hey, all these heathens in on this shit, man. Right. Hey, the Psalms 83 is there for a reason. They're Confederate.
You know what? Go ahead and read it,
man.
Now that you bring it up, bring it out.
And somebody get the word confederation.
Go ahead.
So the Lord says confederacy. Somebody get confederacy because confederacy.
That's a part of this hatred.
That's it. Yeah. They'll use everybody and their mama against us, man. That's in the Willie Lynch letters. He says,
I'm already here, right?
Against.
He already did. Go ahead and read it.
Oh yeah,
but still get the word confederacy in the Hebrew. Okay. Oh, the Hebrew. Oh, you get the English too, but if somebody get the Hebrew as well, because they said pit the young against the old, woman against the male, light skin versus dark skin, straighter hair versus kinky hair. He said, if you find a difference, use it.
Yeah,
and use it against themselves, because then we can rule them, if not for 500 to 1,000 years, if not forever. All right.
This Psalms 83 and 1. A song of Asaph. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O God. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsels against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Crafty. So Esau, you know, he mad scientist, this shit, man. He put together a plan that would completely destroy us, make himself like the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this shit was, he pieced together, man, with the help of the spiritual left-hand angel Satan, man.
Mm-hmm. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
And that's why you niggas think you just niggas, man. All right? That's why you Mexicans, y'all divided. I forget the terms. The Mexicans in Mexico call the American Mexicans something. It's just division. Then niggas and Mexicans don't even get along. You're the same fucking people, man. And when I say Mexican, I'm talking about all you Latin tribes, man.
Right.
Every nigga's a G.
Oh, y'all looking like. No, look, you're not. They always say that on social media. You're not Mexican enough for the real Mexicans, and you're not American enough to not be Mexican to the other nations, man. So it's like you're lose-lose, you know. But man, fuck all of them collectively. That's like Benji said, all y'all look like. Actually, he didn't say I.
But you
all the tribes. But the whole 12 tribes, you know, that's the same thing because, like he said, even with Judah, the lighter skin, the darker skin.
The Willie Lynch.
It's no, it's facts.
I mean, but it was it's scripture. A kingdom divided against itself will not stand. So as long as they can keep Jake divided, that's their goal. So we will never rise up again. See, but they discount the power of Yahweh Shemel Shai.
That's right.
And
bringing it together.
And the elect. And he's bringing the two sticks back together through Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, the northern and southern kingdoms. And that's why that's why they got to speed the plan up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they've been going to overdrive. This shit is in overdrive. It says,
he'll read.
It says, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. So all these nations that came together against Yahweh Shema Shai, man. They all these motherfuckers that came together. All right? Yep. So ain't none of these heathens your friends, man.
But that's why
Obadiah. Confederate right here.
Go ahead.
It's from the Hebrew H1285 Barayath, and it means covenant, alliance, pledge between men, treaty, alliance, league.
So they got a treaty together. That's what they're doing in NATO.
Friendship.
That's what they're doing at the UN. Why at the UN we have no person representing Yasharallah in the UN, and we are the most populous race of people on the planet.
But
They
that's
have no voice.
But that's why Yahweh Shai has got in Obadiah has got the nations turning on Esau now at the same time.
Right, and then truth be said, we're the voice of our people right now.
That's right. Absolutely.
And Esau hates it because many of our people are actually listening. That's why they're so worried about this Hebrew Israelite thing.
It's all on the internet. When you go on TikTok, it's all on TikTok.
You can't avoid it.
You can't get
When
around
you go
it.
on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you go,
It's everywhere.
you know.
The video game, you see niggas with Hebrew names talking about
South
Hebrew
Park.
this, Israel this, like regular Jakes.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
We
Can I-
went Uber driver.
Yeah.
Colossal ran into a dude last night, and he had a sort of like a turtleneck on, but he had the fringes on his turtleneck. He was waking up, but he was talking to us and stuff, and he said his birth name is Judah. I said, oh shit, so Yahweh then? He said he like, yeah, he just been listening. I'm like, damn, that's what's up.
That was a nomen omen. You know, so he on his way.
And then speaking of nomen omen, side note,
His parents named him Judah. That means that they
Started catching wind.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. And I was thinking about this the other day. I said that's another reason why a lot of these Jake are really lost, because they got their name is Daquan. The name word don't come back to nothing, means absolutely motherfucking nothing.
Well, and all them people that got them names that came out of that project shit.
Yeah, that makeup shit.
That la this and la that and you know, La Muel and La Keisha and La right, and all these dumbass names.
Right. But they get the power because the Lord.
And then it marks you because what happens in Esau society, they see when you put out an application for anything, school, job, whatever, loan, when they read La Quisha, La Danielle, why can't he just be Danielle? La Danielle, you know, that your shit just got moved to the bottom of the pile. Right, your name may as well have been denied.
Right. Oh, we lost your application. You're fine.
My auntie, she said one of the biggest mistakes she said, I named my daughter Nikea. That's my cousin name. Nikes. Because she liked Nikes. That's the only reason she named it Nikea. She named it after the fucking shoe. She named it after the fucking shoe.
See, but that takes away the spiritual vibration.
Was the father in the life?
Nikea, huh?
Was the father in the life?
No.
He wore Reeboks. That's why it didn't work out. It's like this bitch in I told you.
It's a Reebok house.
Hey, but what's crazy is she knows she Israelite now, but she looked back on all that shit and she like, damn, I was a dumbass nigga woman for all that shit.
Good, I'm glad she realized that.
And what's crazy, my only family members, I mentioned this earlier, the only family members that I ever got along with know they're Israelites now. My Uncle Barry, y'all know the one, he used to scoff. Then he called me, nephew, you was right. But he know he an Israelite now, and he's still a nigga, but he trying his best, you know. And my auntie, you know, they the only ones who I really
in your family side.
And the scoffer's the one that scoffed the hardest gonna hate you more because you was right.
Yeah.
All right, because you was right.
That's it.
Right? They were scoffing you because they didn't want you to be right, but now they gonna hate you even more because you are right.
And they didn't listen. Self-hatred, because they didn't listen.
All the things you've been saying coming true.
That's right.
It's just gonna anger them more.
Can I finish this song? It's Psalms 83:6. The tabernacles of Edom and Ishmael, of Moab and Hagarenes, Gamal and Ammon and Amalek. Man. The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, Assur also joined with them. They have hoped the children of Lot,
So, I mean,
It's a lot.
if you go through what all the names, it's basically the Table of Nations. What group do you see the Table of Nations at in one building? As a confederacy, alliance, a treaty. All right, that's the United Nations, and they
Not only them, the BRIC nations as well.
Well, I mean, absolutely.
Because there's no Israelites
And
on
BRICS,
those seats.
NATO,
Yeah.
or any alliance that's set up by the heathens, or it's
God.
but starting with Esau, Edom, is not for our turn, and that's it.
Because
Brazil.
You're right.
Brazil is the first
Right.
letter in BRICS.
God.
That's why I said
Brazil is
They might not. Right.
yeah, but going speaking on the United Nations, they speak. That's the one world government. And we and thank the Lord we don't have a seat, but like you said,
And
we
the,
are the
and,
ones.
and the United Nations are all pulling apart because what just like NATO is fringed right now. You
Right.
have to see that, right? NATO is very fringed, and it's very clear that the nations are all going to turn on the whore. I mean, if you can't see that, you can already see it happening because even with the collapse of these banks and the collapse of all these economies, all these countries that supported the whore, all their economies are well, most of their economies were doing fine until they started, supporting the whore. Because you were making me put sanctions on people that I was doing business with that I didn't have a problem with. You had a problem with.
Right.
And now you get all you got all these sanctions, and I can't do business anymore. And my people are hurting and struggling because you can cut off
They
whole
breathing down my
revenues.
neck, Ralph.
Exactly, man.
They punch it back now though. They just cut their oil production down. All
OPEC,
the OPEC nations with Russia.
if I may, this
That's
is
to the end of 2023. Cut it down.
That's it. Well, that goes into that crashing. Right? This is Zephaniah 1 and 10, and it should come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh, that there should be a noise of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. Even though the BRICS are doing the BRICS thing, even though they're doing the little things that they're doing to separate, they've already been intricately tied to America and the system and their businesses so much. When America goes down, all of their shit's going to fuck down. Man. This is a second and a great crashing from the hills.
That's why they're gonna hate them so.
Yes. And so you're talking about the great America, that's going to tumble, which is going to go fuck up with Britain and their NASDAQ and shit with the Nikkei and over there in China and Japan. It's going to ripple through all of them. It says, how ye inhabitants of Mactesh, for the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. That's the reason why the Lord is shutting down their financial systems, and he's fucking them up. And this is all what Esau on the left-hand side is saying, well, let's consolidate and start up the CBDC and put it to digital so we can control everything. But what's going to happen is in the fullness of his sufficiency, he's going to be constrained.
He's gonna get away
That
from
time
it.
is very close.
That's right.
That's right.
That time is very close, and we can't wait.
You watched the what's the Edomite looking dude with the white hair? Is he playing back?
Yes.
What's the other
The
one?
white one with the red face.
Red face,
Yeah,
white hair.
all the white hair. Yes,
Coming back.
He been snapping a lot.
Playing back.
Yeah.
No, he made the. You
That
saw
was
the
really
video.
good.
Actually, he been snapping for years.
Yeah, true. But that's why they kicked him off.
That's why he got kicked off Fox when he came out with the
Yeah.
with the when he talked about the Hebrew and the Israel and the Native Americans speaking in Hebrew, and he broke down how the pyramids in down in South America had the same dimensions and measurements as the ones in Giza. He made that connection, and he got kicked off Fox.
He pulled out a relic on
the back.
Yeah, he did a video titled "Becoming Venezuela." China deal may collapse the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
Now that was really it. This shit over with.
Yeah.
Then right in the midst of all of this, you got the OPEC nations. For one, Saudi's talking about taking the yuan. They took the yuan.
Yeah, they take it.
Now they're cutting oil production and shit.
Yeah.
Right at the same time, Russia's doing this shit is happening together, man. This shit is a strike against America.
Uruguay, Panama, Mexico, all these people in line have applications to join BRICS now.
Yeah, Nicaragua.
So a lot of
Nicaragua should be the first.
This is how cold it is. Now he's at Saudi and OPEC went away from the oil, right? Why every time I get gas, I'm getting less mileage out of a full tank? I filled up today, dropping off my daughter to you, and I used to get 400 miles to a full tank. Then it was 375. Lately, after the slamdemic, it was about 330. And I was
probably watering it down.
Now I got 260 or something, on a full tank. Right now, only did after that went down to Barges Park and back.
Well,
Well,
then
247 left.
then clearly they watered it down.
Yeah.
They cut
They and unite, and that also fucks up your energy because that's not pure fucking gas, man. And that's just what put that bullshit in your shit, man.
I get like 300 miles. I only get like 200.
Now most people don't pay attention to their odometer, but for someone who works and drives a lot or for a living, I can't help but look at it because that's how I used to make sure I'm making my money because I'm spending too much money on gas. Now, okay, I can't do this. Because some jobs, some of the app jobs, you can actually, be all right. But if you sit there and I'm going about 15 minutes just to go drop off a $4 gig to go 20 minutes to go, oh, now I'm losing money. If you're doing that and you're doing this shit with this type of gas, you're actually losing money.
Then you have to spend more because you got to put fuel additives in your car to make it.
I'm about to say you guys.
making it unprofitable. But you know what? That's also part of the plan. They want people to stop driving. They want to bring the 15-minute cities.
Yeah,
Go ahead, bring out what you got.
Two scripture. Proverbs 22, verse 2. The rich and poor meet together, but Yahweh is the maker of them all. Verse 3. A prudent man foreseeing the evil, we foreseeing the evil, and the two turds not, along with the heathens, and hid himself, how we had ourselves by being in the truth, being in one Yahweh shot. All right, it says, but the simple pass on and are punished. So they're gonna get caught the fuck up, man. That's it. In Jacob's trouble.
Because they don't see it coming.
Yeah.
We can't wait.
They don't see that sucker
And
punch.
my man right here in Mississippi, he got caught up.
And they're trying to bring those Willie Lynch laws back.
Oh, they did. They brought Jim Crow laws
Yeah.
in Mississippi.
Right.
The elder you mentioned it earlier that the 13th Amendment is still on the books. So this is part of this is if they could, they would bring it all the way back, and they are doing it back.
When did they go right?
Well, because first of all, Jake don't remember that
Right.
the laws and the Constitution and stuff was never meant for so-called Negroes,
Right.
Latinos, and Native Americans. So we are the 13th Amendment.
Jeremiah 51:5. It says, "For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord Yahweh of hosts. Though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense."
Yeah, it kind of passed.
Hey, you got these little things happening now, but this is all boiling up. For,
No, you know what I think?
But for the martial law that just about to come out.
Jim Crow never went away from simple ass niggas.
Yeah, because it's showing you the hate. So yeah, we these images we have pulled up. This is a tapestry from the 15th century in Germany, and you can see who lives in the castle, so-called black people,
Right.
and who's attacking them out of the woods with sticks, the wild men.
Yep.
And so this is the history that they try to cover up. And what Esau has done, he took the wild man's history and made them the Vikings. All right, but the truth of the matter is,
That was right.
Right.
no, right, because
they came out to cause this nonsense.
and that's how they looked as they were attacking, because they weren't bathing, they didn't have hygiene. Put it back. And so they got put it back on the castle. They were civilized by these people.
Right.
As a matter of fact, and you can see the different shades of brown on these people that were living in these castles. This is, like I said, you can see them defending from every place where they were from these Edomites that lived in the woods. This was at Job 30th chapter.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So these people, when you watching Uhtred,
That's
when
right.
you watching
Right.
right, when you watching all the battles between the Scots, the Irish, the Brits, the Danes, right? The so-called white people, they weren't involved in those battles. They were the serfs, the servants, and the wildlings. These ones that lived out in the woods, and and then they try to take that and they took that history and they mixed this caveman history with Viking shit, and that's what they show you when they show you in the movies. But what they're not showing you is that the people who were civilized was actually Jacob and was ruling. As a matter of fact, Ben Franklin wrote a letter.
Yep.
You can go ahead and grab it, say Benji. He wrote a letter that specifically talked about the so-called black people in Germany and all over Europe. You know, so this is a very important piece of art right here because it tells a story that's ignored in Western history. Right? They don't mention this or talk about this.
It's a lot. They don't look like no damn Arabs to you assholes like to say Esau.
You can clearly
Arabs.
see that those are so-called Negroes.
Yeah,
Clearly. So anybody who fixed their lips to say the dumb shit about this being some Arabs, you know.
No, I'm talking about Esau's so-called Arabs. I was just saying.
Those are not Arabs. Those are so-called white men. It's
That's
very
right.
clear to see.
It's clear to see.
And
and
this was the wilding. Matter of fact, then you also have the tapestry of just them, the wild men, and that's what they call the wild men.
Yeah.
All right, it's called the Moors versus the wild men. All right.
What this one?
Yeah, that was another one. He said images of Edomites bowing down. That was a Jake sitting up on top of that throne. All right, and those were all Edomites bowing down. Bowing down to him.
I know I got a book in the basement, and when all the judges were
that was in the Congo. This was in the west, the west coast of Africa, and they actually had castles. And look at that. That was if I'm not mistaken, this was like the 8th or 9th century in the Congo. So they always make it try to look like the people in the west coast of Africa were ooking and booking it. But look at this. This is in the Congo.
West Africa is like a
all right
financial district.
So the point being is that they were very, very civilized. You actually had castles, in all across the west coast of Africa. They even have a place where they were taking the slaves from, where they had a Fort Judah and a Fort Levi in Benin.
I have a book downstairs where of Middle Ages.
I'm just gonna say too, and so this history is the evidence of the so-called white man being put on the bottom for that 1,000-year period after the fall of Rome, right? So so the Renaissance, when the rebirth, when they begin to whitewash all the images and hide history and cover history up, this is evidence of what they were covering up.
Right.
All right. And that history that has been told is fabricated history. All right.
And in this book, I forgot the name of it. You have different relics and pictures and so forth. And one of the pictures is not that one, but that's a good one too. But it was a picture of Jake holding court, and all the judges was Judah.
That was part of this.
Yeah, and
there are more images to this, and that's exactly what it is.
And they will come, and they will be bringing them in as being judged for their crimes or whatever. And it's actually the reverse of what you will see now, where you see a whole bunch of Jake being put before Esau. It was the opposite.
Right, because Ben Franklin, did you find that letter?
Yeah, I got it.
Because Ben Franklin and all those guys that came over, they were some of those people who went before them judges, and basically they were the riffraff. They got put out of Europe. All right, and then they also, that's how they end up making a penal colony down in Australia, and they ended up massacring and taking it over the indigenous people. All right, but go ahead, brother. We gonna get ready to wrap it up. You can read that. Put it back on the German tapestry, Bob Kushak. Okay.
I'm gonna get more towards the point. Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of our Anglifying them?
See, and so that's the Germanizing that he was talking about. These Germans that were living in Germany, these black people that lived and ruled in Germany, in this was the 15th century. Yeah. So we know for sure all the way up until about the 17th century that these Negroes were still there. But you would never know that because they're looking at the people that are there now, just like the people in Finland and the people that's in the Danish people.
Right.
They're not the people that were there during this time. They're the people that live there now. So when they make their movies, they show you people that live there now. They weren't the people. I'm gonna continue to tell you, you were not the Danes.
That's right.
You were not the Vikings. You were not the Brits. You were not the Irish. You were not the Scots. You were none of that. You were the wild men.
That's right.
All right, that's who you were. You were the low-life people who were eating lice out of each other's hair and living in the woods and in caves and shit. All right, but go ahead.
And will never adopt our language or customs, any more than they can acquire our complexion. So this isn't talking about a separate set of Edomites that were more tan. That's what Esau wanted to say. He was talking about the more. No, he ain't talking about no more tan Edomites, man. Because that's the case, then you can go get a tan too. No, he's talking about actual fucking niggas. Simple. Which leads me to add one remark that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. All Africa is black or tawny. Asia, chiefly tawny. So immediately he calls Africa, Africa, of course, is fucking black as hell. And then he said the same thing about the entire continent of Asia. So to call us black is madness. Because right here you have these dark-skinned people mentioned. All right? So why aren't they called fucking black? The whole world is fucking melanated, man. You got East Indians darker than some of the darkest. In fact, the darkest person I've ever seen is East Indian.
The darkest person I've ever seen is an East Indian. Yeah. Darker than any Hamite I've ever seen.
Purple.
Right. Asia, chiefly tawny. America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. So the natives, they don't look like what they show you on TV. They look like Steven Seagal.
They look like men in this room.
Exactly.
Right.
All right. The way that they look now is a result of rape, robbery, and murder. All right.
Yep. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion.
Swarthy means black.
Yep.
Yep.
Scott. As a matter of fact, the very word Scott means black. Scotland means land of the black.
Yep.
All right. And I have a book when it talked about the swarthy hordes of Scotland. All right. Even in the word Swartz and swarthy, even in the Yiddish, means black people or black person.
Schwarzenegger is swarthy and negro, going back to negro. So it's basically
dark,
saying dark black.
Right. That's a really dark name.
That's dark.
Yeah. As are the Germans also.
And check this out. Pull your phone down, Obadiah. But check that out. What you see at the bottom of the picture, right by the archer in the doorway.
Yeah, that boat.
That's a boat.
Yeah.
That's what the Vikings. You see the boat?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
The one with the yellow.
So the yellow top.
Yellow
that's
top,
one of them
yes,
boats
yeah.
that you see
Right.
when you watch all the Viking movies.
Right.
That these Negroes had a boat in their river, in their water, that the bridge went over.
You see the bridge?
Exactly. You see?
Mm-hmm. But see, that's why they can't prove. They just change the narrative by just saying it, and they put the movies and they do all that stuff. Let the white man tell it. He was the ancient samurai. He was ancient Vikings. He was ancient Egyptians. He was everybody.
But
Right.
Esau.
So Floki wasn't a so-called white guy.
Yep.
Neither was Ragnar.
Let's keep reading this. I could wish so like the Germans also, the Saxons only accepted who with the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. I could wish their numbers were increased, and while we are, as I may call it, exploring the planet by clearing America of woods, so making the side of our globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes of the inhabitants in Mars or Venus. All right, so America was meant to be, the kingdom of Esau, man. All right, he was gonna run shit, find this land to make it his, and take over the world from there. He's done that.
Right, and I'm bring out this point too, is that when the people are ruling, every nation had a certain way of building. All right, when you can see the difference between the castles that were built all across Europe and the Mount Seir.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at Mount Seir and then you look at the buildings, all the buildings that are built here in America.
Right.
Why? Because when the people cease to be in power, their way of building stops. So that's why they stopped building the way that they did in Portugal, in Spain, and all across. They didn't build like that anymore because they weren't the people in power anymore. And you could clearly see that Esau builds a different way.
Do you see all the weapons? Do you see all the weapons that Jake has, and then the weapons that they have? They have the beasts have nothing but these big ass brute sticks. They're not even shaving down spears. They just picked up some sticks.
They fresh out the cage.
They fresh out the case, and we have bows and arrows and so forth.
Civilized.
You got a moat right there with the boat, drawbridge and so forth.
It says, why should we, in the sight of superior beings, darken its why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America? So that's Esau's false narrative. They want to put everything to Africa because they was dark skinned. But the point is, this lets you know that Benjamin Franklin ain't talking about another group of tan Edomites, as they like to try to make it seem when you look online about this quote. Where they're talking about these darker people. No, bro, this is talking about Israelites, man. And then also the other melanated nations, man, because the whole world is fucking melanated, man. But it's clearly talking about Jake. We ruled Europe, man. Plain and simple, and history shows you, man.
He told you.
Damn catacombs, man.
Yeah, he said, why should we Germanize? Bring these black Germans over to America.
And call them the sons of Africa.
Exactly. So there it is, man. Bring out what you have. We're going to wrap it up, bro.
Con, I have two right quick. This is Jeremiah 30 and 16. It says, therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all they that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So like the other said, man, see, the thing is, they were chatting it up, loving it, eating, consuming, and now it's time for the check. Yep. Now they're not Esau, they're everybody but Esau. He claims to be everybody, bro. He was everywhere but where he was supposed to be. Oh, he
conveniently, you notice, Esau conveniently tried to do away with all the evidence that shows who he is, including the scriptures. He got an answer for everything. And he removed the Apocrypha.
Esau destroyed already.
Right, he's already now they got to the point where they're trying to say that future prophecies had already happened.
Well, if that's the case, Israel would be ruling. If Esau was destroyed, Israel would be ruling right now. There'd be peace on earth. Right. All right, there'll be a place we can look to and say, oh shit, that's the land of wickedness. Don't do what the fuck they did.
And everybody will be following after the laws of the Bible.
That's right.
And that's not happening. So that what that means is that Esau is still here because, and not only that, the Lord returns to a world ruled by Esau. Right. So you can't get around this, man.
That's right.
I got a script.
Stop teaching the Bible and stuff like that in a foreign country.
Israel.
Yeah, the land of Israel. Man. The land of Israel. They say, so with that, man, we're going to give all praise, all honor and glory
to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekakadash.
Wabba, wabba,
wabba, wabba.
You was going to turn lights in the street. They can't keep the Bible in Israel.
Yeah, and it was some rabbis
in Israel.
Yeah, in Israel. You go to jail. You go to jail for.